As the founders of Surefoot, Bob and Russ Shea are obsessed with creating the perfect ski boot for you because they know that a properly fitted custom ski boot will make you a better skier, whatever level you're at. Surefoot, better fitting, better skiing.
Hello, Freeride fans. Welcome back to the Freeride Guide podcast. My name is Mark Warner, and today I'm joined by a friend of the show, Mr. Tom Peiffer.
How's it going, everyone? Good to be back on the screen.
Back on the Freeride Guide. So I was trying to find it. I didn't look really extensively, but you've done an episode with me before, and it was it the Freeride Guide, or was it was still Freeride World Tour podcast?
I think it was still Freeride World Tour podcast, and then I did a low pressure one. So I've been with you for those two, but I can't remember when it was. It was a while ago. Yeah,
it was a couple years, three years. But you did do a recap episode with me, if I'm not mistaken.
I did.
For those of you that may not know Tom, well, if you're listening to this show, you should. Tom is a former Freeride World Tour athlete. He actually did a live broadcast with Derek Foos as well. Was it the Kicking Horse one that you did?
It was the Kicking Horse one.
And then the year before, you came in fourth at the Kicking Horse, or was it reversed?
I came in fourth. No, I can't remember. I can't remember, Lord. I think I came in fourth, and then it was the next season that I did the broadcast.
Was it? I thought it may have been reversed, but who knows?
It was one of the two.
Was that the one where your airbag came out?
Yeah.
And you still, you had an amazing run. It was on T1 South, and you launched this run and you ripped through the bottom with your airbag flopping out.
Yeah.
I wonder if they deducted points for that, and you could have ended up on the podium.
Style points, man. A little bit of style.
Yeah, I was loving it. So for those of you that don't know Tom, now you know Tom. And today, we aren't talking about the Freeride World Tour. We are talking about natural selection ski. You may be wondering where Derek Foos is. Well, Derek Foos is in the middle of a Professional Ski Instructors of Canada exam week. He works for that organization, and he coaches up a lot of new up-and-coming ski instructors who not only know how to carve on groomers like the other one, but this organization teaches you actually how to ski properly, big mountain, off-piste, and then makes them, allows them to know how to teach people how to do that. So he's doing that this week, Super Slam. So Tom is filling in. Before we get any further, we want to give some attention to our partners. First of all, the Freeride Guide. This show is available on every podcast app, and you can watch us on YouTube. It's located on the Low Pressure Podcast YouTube channel. And if you enjoy the show, we'd really appreciate it if you click that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review if you think we are worth it. You can find the Freeride Guide on Instagram, freeride_guide. Tommy, where can they get you on Instagram?
They can just get me at Tom Peiffer, my name, Peiffer. That's it, Tom Peiffer, nothing special.
I wouldn't go that far. You're pretty special here on the Freeride Guide podcast. All right, and to our sponsors, we got Surefoot Skiing. Big thanks to Surefoot Custom Ski Boots, fitting you with Surefoot Custom Heated Liners and Surefoot Custom Orthotics. Ski boots are a long-term investment in your skiing experience, and Surefoot is here to educate your decision. Don't just take our word for it. Come and experience what you've been missing at one of 29 Surefoot locations across the U.S., Canada, and Europe. And to Head Skis and Tyrolia Bindings, the Head Core Collection is built to ski anything and are a Freeride World Tour partner and a sponsor of the Freeride Guide, as well as many FWT athletes. I was just telling you, I was out today and I was skiing on my 106s, and those things are absolute weapons. Today was one of the best days I've had all season. It was a couple days after some fresh snow. The snow had warmed up, but not too much, and the edges were just cutting through like they were meant to. I didn't have to do anything. I just stood there, and my skis did all the work. It was all about the arrow and not about the Indian, that's for sure. So thanks, Head Skis. And I was on pin bindings, too, and I felt super, super stable. The Tyrolia Almontes.
That's
So
awesome.
thanks,
Yeah.
Head, and Tyrolia. Thanks, Surefoot. And thank you for joining me today, Tom. And let's get right into it. So we're talking about NST Ski. So last year was the first one, and it was rad. It was really, really cool. They do it in Alaska, and there are definitely a lot of challenges that go into A, putting on an event, B, putting on an event in a place like Alaska where the weather and the snow conditions are always, always changing and unpredictable. And that kind of proved true again today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just this year was maybe one of the first years where they got to really experience how unforgiving, everyone knows, we all know, and especially the NST crew and all the athletes know how unforgiving the mountains are. But like when it comes to putting on an event and you need stability, sun, everything to kind of align, and then them being pushed to different venues and pushed around like that, coming from the world tour, I've dealt with that for years, and it's definitely a good humbling reminder that you can come from one super sick year where they nailed it on a sick face, and then you have to do a big change of plan, which I think was kind of the big topic this year for them out in Alaska, because I saw what they were going to ride, the spine cell, and let me tell you, that is a serious venue.
Yeah, absolutely serious. And it's kind of the theme, I guess, for freeride events across all I guess all organizations. You had to cancel 3 different events this year.
Yeah.
These guys, and they had to pivot to one, and that ended up having to cancel a pivoted event. So the NST crew were originally supposed to be in Valdez, and then ended up having to switch to Girdwood. And then with 1 day left in the weather window, they did some work on the face, and a huge avalanche took out the face. And they're like, oh my God, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
So I guess from what I could tell watching is they nominated Marcus Eder to go with Travis Rice. Because I don't know if you saw Circle of Madness, Marcus's film.
Yeah.
In AK. I've said this before. It's like he and Victor De La Rue were like trying to get high scores on all the classic Alaskan lines. You know what I mean? They're like riding it to see if they could do it better than anybody had done it. So I guess everybody chose Marcus, which was a good call. So they ended up shifting to this really cool kind of mellow zone that actually turned out to be really neat, but it was pretty much like a park course. It was like a full-on freestyle.
It was definitely a shift from the classic steep, spines, big terrain, where you just see, like, that's all you see in Alaska, and that's why you go to Alaska. And they definitely had to pivot to something that, like, we definitely classify as more mellow, but I think with the rolls and just, again, showcasing freeride skiing, what you can do in even mellow terrain, was really cool to see how everyone kind of adapted on that. But that venue definitely was a big shift, and that was a huge discussion point, and I think a big just like a big change of plans for a lot of riders, because looking at that one venue spine cell that they're originally going to ride, which I have a lot of questions on how they would have fit 30 potential runs, like they're all doing so many laps down that. And I look at that venue and I was like, I don't want to compete on that. I want to film or do something, but to like go up and continually have to ride a big one and then pivot your mindset where you're preparing for this huge mental and physical battle and have to pivot to a completely different type of terrain that limits you in so many different ways and provides so many more different opportunities for types of riding, and must have been like one of the biggest like 180 changes mentally that all those riders had to endure.
The venue change, though, if you got to make a pivot, that's the way you need to pivot, right? You can't be going from looking at like a slope style course with several different rollovers with almost endless landings where there's really no serious consequence, like there's no exposure.
Yeah.
Then to shift to someplace like spine cell and be like, oh God, like that's the way that's like in a direction you'd have to move, I think, if you needed to make a pivot. And so
Totally.
wondering about that too is like coming from a rider from your like yourself is say you're looking at this spine cell, which is like big mountain free riding. Like not only is there line, like you have to know where your line is. You got to make sure you got slough. You're monitoring your slough. You're monitoring the conditions during the run. Like every single move, like you got to be on. And like you said, we counted right before we got on, and I think there was about 32 or 33 runs in this event. To be able to do 33 runs down a big giant face like that would be a lot.
Yeah.
And exhausting, I'm sure, for the riders too. But let me ask you this is say some of these riders got like 3 or 4 runs.
Yeah.
After your first one, you're like, all right. The second one, you're like, okay. Third and fourth, you're probably like right in the wheelhouse and you're knowing like how to ride this. Or is the fatigue kind of balance it out?
Yeah, it's so tough to say because depending on, again, the type of venue, but if you're looking at the bigger one, it would be if you know you can get the line and you had a bit of an issue and then you're fired up to go and get it. But if you did something that's like pushing you right at that limit and you ride it and you're stoked on it, a lot of like comp riders and a lot of riders would like look back at their runs and maybe not want to ski that outside of a comp. It's always like a healthy debate. Like there's been some runs I've done where, you're like right at the bottom, you get in, you're so amped up and you're jazzing, you're like, oh my God, like that was insane. And would you want to do it again? Probably not, unless you didn't have to be in that like very like focused and refined mindset. And if you were on that big venue, I think you'd swing through that. Maybe you'd be really scared and then you'd be like, okay, I found my flow in the venue and I know how to change it. And now I can work with it better and showcase my skills. Or you would nail it and be like, okay, I want to ski something completely different, so that you can kind of maybe keep that confidence and that momentum mentally, but then apply it to something else. Because sometimes when you keep recycling on the same thing, you start like nitpicking and you go through a lot of little mental battles in your head as an athlete of, did I do this correctly? I can change this better. Should I have come in at this angle? And you start really nitpicking it, which can be fun, but it can also be really exhausting. So to have to do so many runs and go through that, like the mental fortitude of all the athletes that day was pretty
I guess you could start
see.
second guessing yourself too when you're like, oh, I'm going to try it a little bit different. And then maybe you that isn't the right move and you like make a mistake rather than being in like full on flow state, top to bottom, reacting in real time, rather than thinking ahead of what's going to happen and trying to like craft the run.
Well, and it's interesting because with this venue specifically, you could really see that with the athletes being able to, session these jumps realistically that aren't changing that much except for the landing. And so they were finding the limit. They all kind of started their first run with like awesome tricks to just test out jumps and flat threes, backies, maybe a cork sev, like things that they have on lock. And then the next run is where you start to see them throwing in doubles, bigger spins, bigger rotations, going bigger, more amplitude. And then, some of them found that limit. So there was, with the weird snow condition, you could definitely tell the way that some of them like lurched forward when they land. There's a bit of a punchiness or something in the snow. I can't quite tell, but you can definitely see that they had to find that balance when you're sessioning a backcountry jump line, more or less. Like you can definitely push over or you can definitely go under. So it's a tough one in a competition, especially.
Yeah. All right. So we had 8 ski men and 4 ski women, and 2 of I guess 1 from each were advanced from the NST Super Sessions, which is something new that they did this year, and held it at Palisades. And it was kind of like a playoff, or I guess like a playoff to get into the Alaskan competition. And I know they had to do some, I guess, venue gymnastics there as well, with like making sure that it worked, because everybody knows that Tahoe had an unbelievably terrible season this year.
Yeah. And
so
I know Teal Harley real well, and Connery Lundeen, both of them are buddies, and they're both in the Super Sessions. And they definitely, I think what happened is they had a big jump they wanted to groom into the venue, and then the night before the competition, they were finalizing grooming the jump, and then the weight of the groomer cracked this huge classic Californian, like 7-8 foot crown, and just wiped out the whole venue. So they had to pivot completely, and they had to pivot to kind of a more on slope inbounds piece of terrain. And, again, that's a just smaller example of having to make those pivots and those shifts within competition or riding. But definitely a pretty big change for them.
Yeah, because it was, to be honest with you, I was expecting to watch like a competition, so I couldn't really find it on Red Bull TV. Mm-hmm. It was about 20 minutes long, and it was really kind of just like a highlight clip. They were riding, I think, Granite Chief area, I think. So it was like inbounds, and they were, I guess, highlighting a rider and then do a little talking head interview, and then they'd show like a couple clips, and I was like, what am I watching? I don't really know what it is that I'm seeing here.
It was really tough. It was really tough when I watched it to get a perspective on what was better or what was skied better, because there was no really good perspective on, the scope of the terrain.
Yeah, it was just like, I'm going to show you a clip of this air in this spot, but you couldn't see the whole run, right? It was just like a highlight clip.
Yeah, you couldn't see the pace they're moving at. So it was definitely, I really struggled to see how it was being judged, or what the judging criteria for super sessions was. Like, was it judged under the same criteria as, NST Alaska, or was it something different? Were the judges watching this highlight reel only, or were they there in person? There's a lot of question marks around it that I didn't really seem to get.
No, I'm
curious, but I did from what I heard from the riders, that the riders who progressed through definitely earned their spot. Like Tio was saying, he's like, yeah, Jonah definitely crushed it that day and did some stuff, and just overall like was the
and
one
Elizabeth as well.
So,
yeah. So it was Jonah Williams and Elizabeth Gerritsen moved on. Elizabeth, I guess, former Freeride World Tour champion. You were on the tour with her at the same time. Yeah. She kind of bowed out for a couple of years, and it looks like she's trying to maybe make her way back into it. She did a couple of the Challenger events in Region 1, and then got invited for Super Sessions and makes her way to NST Alaska. Yeah. So that's pretty good route.
I think she's definitely in the mix. And, when I look at her riding style, she's one of the most aggressive fall line, high speed female skiers. But yeah, going through the ebbs and flows of competing, it's the constant, being at your A game mentally and physically. You take a break, and I've been in and out of the whole scene. And so, yeah, I'm stoked to see Elizabeth back in, and like back in the mix and crushing it.
Because you did the same thing. You were on the tour and then missed the cut, and then made your way back through the Challengers and got back onto the tour. So you know how it goes, back and forth and back and forth. But yeah, back to the Super Sessions. I thought that, I realized they probably had to pivot majorly on that one as well. I was fortunate. I was happy. Fortunately, it was only about 20 minutes or so, because I was watching it. I'm like, I don't really know what it is I'm watching. This isn't anything that I was expecting. And then Derek and I talked, and we're like, we don't need to do a full recap of that. So we were planning on doing like a full recap episode, and we were like, I think
it would just be hard. Like for me, I just struggled. Like, I could see all the different riders and their styles and what they were kind of doing, but there was no context behind it really. Like, in Alaska and then in Revelstoke, there's the way that it's shot, everything. If you're going to shoot these, a packaged based or a post event release like package, I found it was really hard to get the context. So I wouldn't have been able, I was watching it, I was like, I can't make an accurate judgment on who would be the top riders from just watching this. So I'm like, I'd love to know the behind the scenes structure of that event a bit
just
more.
Kind of have to take their word for it for that one anyways.
So.
So moving on to this one, NST Alaska. Last year's, as we said, was the first one, and I thought it was great, but they had some, snow challenges as well, but it was a bit more of a free ride terrain mixed in with a little freestyle options. Whereas this one was pretty much just straight up freestyle. So we've talked a lot about judging on this show, whether it's FWT. We had a big, long conversation about the FSA judging during the challengers, where I really didn't understand it and the differences of it. And then this one, they've got their own judging criteria as well. A longtime FWT judge, Dion Newport, was there. Sage Catabriga Alosa, as well as Greta Eliason, were all judges. And I think one of them was like a drone judge. One was a like binoculars judge. And I think there was another reason I couldn't find the full explanation for that. But they have like the judging CREDO, and I'm assuming it's the same as NST, the snowboard. So it goes creativity, risk, execution, difficulty, and the overall. So creativity is like line choice and the variety of that line choice. The risk is like amplitude and like, I guess, features that you take. The execution is how you ski them, your style, grabs, what are the landings like? Are you backseat? And I think they didn't really, it's not like the FWT where you backslap or you punch front. They're not taking away 50 points. They just kind of take a few away because there's a couple crashes that were still in the 80s.
Yeah, I found that really interesting, seeing where, what control issues tolerance there is in judging more so than anything else.
Yeah,
because how severe do they want to be on control issues?
And then how it continues on with their run too. So I'm going to get to that in a second. So then difficulty, obviously the difficulty of the trick with the line and the features involved, and then the overall, their flow, the speed control. But yeah, so like in the FWT, say you crash, ski comes off or something like that. They tell you, hey, maybe it depends on where you're at, what time of the season. Sometimes if your ski doesn't come off, get up and keep going. But sometimes they're like, just get out of the way and don't ruin it don't like put in a bomb hole or ruin the line for the rest of the riders, right? And I was kind of thinking about that because Jonah Williams, in his first round, had a big flat spin to punch front, a couple punch fronts. He had a punch front and then ended up skiing down to that lower bench with the big kind of flat landing, ended up punch fronting again. And then we actually saw, I think it was Ellie, like land in his bomb hole. But then it would just prove to be a lot more bomb holes there. So I was like, see, that was something I was thinking about in real time, being like, how is this going to run? Do they just keep going? And it turns out, yeah, if you crash, just get up and keep going, throw down another trick. And it just compounds, and you didn't seem to really get penalized excessively, a little bit, but not a lot.
It seems interesting because, the one side of me coming from like maybe the athlete's perspective is like, if I crash and I'm out of my flow state, like you kind of just want to wrap it up, get done, reassess it, and like restart the whole process.
Yeah.
And a run again, which these athletes get to do, like if you have an issue, they got to have multiple runs per session. So to me, it's interesting that it's not as penalized because they have multiple runs. So maybe in my mind, it would make sense that if you crashed, it was like, okay, well, you have 2 more runs. Like,
right.
Where again, in other styles of free ride competitions, it's you crash, you backslap, like don't expect to be sitting high up in regards to the standings. And arguments can be made for, a softer or a harsher tolerance for it. Harsher tolerance maybe limits progression, as people have argued. I disagree with that a little bit. Like we always, as the athlete, want to showcase and put our best riding down. And we know, every athlete knows when they could have done better. They know when they've made a mistake or they've made a big enough mistake. We'll always be our biggest coaches first. Our biggest critiques, and we self-coach quite hard. So I think that, I found that interesting, is that like you'd get up if you crashed on a jump, maybe a punch front, something that you kind of you pop up from and you're like, oh, okay, I'll keep going. But if you crash and you roll and then you keep going and you hit something else and throw something else for the sake of throwing it, then, it doesn't feel that great sometimes. So I'm curious to know what the judging discussion looks like and the behind the scenes discussion looks like on how they've, essentially formatted that.
And come up with the scores. Yeah. And they didn't have like the replays and stuff. They didn't have the full on, I guess, technology to the limit of
Yeah.
what the FWT does, where they have like live scoring, where you can go back and watch again. It's just more of like, hey,
Yeah.
this is what we have. We'll pass along the score where we're at. So you did mention, if you get a run, a couple more runs, so that's kind of like format. So how it worked was the men's format. There are 8 skiers. So basically, there's 2 rounds and 2 sessions per round. So the 8 skiers are broken down into 4. So four battle each other, and then the other 4 battle each other. The winner from each of those brackets goes straight to the final, and the remaining 3 from each of those brackets move on to a 3-man semifinal, I guess, round 2. And then for the ski women, there are 4 ski women. And same sort of thing is the winner of the first round moves straight to the final, and then there's the remaining 3 riders do the second round, and then the winner of that moves on and battles that person who got the bye right into the final. So we kind of talked about the format a little bit. Like, what do you think of the format? Like I said, there was about 33 runs, and it was like just talking about like the overall product, like the show. It was long. I remember it from last year being really long, and I watched. So they had just for context. So we watched it together. That's why I was like, I'll get Tom to help me out. Is Evo, I guess, is a partner of NST, and they're showing watch parties at all their shops. And there's a brand new kind of Evo rental shop in Whistler. Really great spot, actually. Really, really fun spot. Great for movie screenings, which I'm going to be thinking about in the future. A lot of people showed up. About 200 people showed up. A bunch of the athletes were there. Menon, Astrid, Jonah was there. There was a lot of like Freeride World Tour athletes, Margus and Way, Lena Kohler as well. Yourself,
awesome.
King Gascoigne, who's on the tour for next year, as well as a handful of other. There's a bunch of the Chilean Argentinians that are living in Whistler right now who are rocking the Challengers and the IFSA qualifier series. So a lot of skiers, a lot of people there that were, which was really cool to see.
It was a great turnout. Yeah, it was definitely a good night. And yeah, when it comes to that day and when it comes to the competition format, I definitely think it's pretty awesome to be able to get to have multiple runs. I think it's cool to see a bracket style competition. We've never really had that. It's a really cool idea. Man, it has to be so rugged on the athletes mentally and energetically, just going up. And, especially if you aren't one of the athletes to progress all the way to finals automatically, and you have to go through the first round, make it through the next round, and then
if you make it to the final, you get 2 runs.
Yeah,
so Ray did mention that there's 2 runs in the final.
Yeah, so to me, I think it's so awesome. It's just so cool to see kind of the true like professionalism and athleticism of these athletes. They're having to push through that and do that all day. Like you're in a comp all day. I'm used to doing 1 run. I build myself up. I do 1 run, day's done. Olympic events, if you're not doing qualifying, but you do 1 run, that's your 1 run, right? Like almost in skiing, it's almost every competition is 1 main run, and then you're done. And these guys have to compete and try and make sure
freeride events. Yeah, but then you get like the moguls, or you get like slope style or big air, where you got to go up and do over and over. Which the guy who won, had that in his bag. Do you know what I mean? And it's interesting. I was thinking about it as like as like a parallel to baseball. You've got like your starting pitcher who's going to go like 4 or 5 innings, and then you've got those pitchers that are really only good for 1 or 2. You know what I mean? And they get weeded out, like basically as their career progresses, they find their place, and people are like, oh, you're better as like a short guy, and you're better as the long guy. Whereas I wonder if that kind of falls true into like professional skiing, like freeride skiing, is like maybe some of these skiers are better and can handle a several run day versus others who are primed to do 1.
I mean, I think a lot of the riders in there are used to, going out, whether it's a film day or if they come from competition, they're used to having to show up and be on it all day. So I think it's kind of just maybe the background. Maybe it's more the element of like the background of where those riders progress the most in their career, because I think that's one of the biggest topics of discussion for this whole event is with that big venue change, going to a more jump oriented, like backcountry slopestyle course. So, if you look at who ended up on the podium, those athletes predominantly come from a pedigree of slopestyle where it's, jumps and repetition. And so it is interesting to see how kind of those changes that's out of everyone's control can kind of potentially have an impact on the results. And, Sam said it best in one of his interviews. He said the best overall rider should be able to win on this venue or up on the big venue as well. And I don't disagree with that at all. However, if you only have one competition to decide that, you're only allowing one canvas to be kind of used. Yeah. Whereas this is where I give credit to the Freeride World Tour is that, the venues are all different and offer different things, and different riders will shine through on different venues. And so you get a mix in standings, and that's when you can be like, okay, this rider excelled in the steep, big, fast stuff, and then on the more playful, fun, trick-oriented terrain. And so I think it is interesting that, in one competition, just they have one shot at this NST Alaska. There's not 3 or 4 or 2 or
unfortunately, because this face I think would have been really awesome as a part of a series, kind of like the tour you mentioned, right? So if you have the chance to ski a big spine line and then you get a chance to do this and then do exactly what you were just talking about, being able to showcase your abilities on 2 completely different venues or styles of venues would be awesome. Like that face would be so sick in the middle of a big mountain comp or big mountain series. Yeah. Like just totally. To be like, oh, hey, we're having a little fun this time. We're switching it up,
Totally. And even if it was between those two, just, then you'd really get a good, healthy mix. And I think, you saw that in the ski women. I think you saw that disparity in the ski women even more. Like I would have loved to have seen Elizabeth put down on spine cell and be able to use her speed and her aggressiveness in that terrain. And so when you get kind of constrained to, that venue it offered a lot of potential, but it was also really constraining. Like there's not a lot of different lines,
Yeah, it's literally like a park line, right? Yeah, it was like top feature. There's a few of the riders did find ways to set themselves apart a little. Yeah,
they'd pop off something you couldn't really see them in the drone angles, but then all of a sudden they'd pop off something in the middle of between the 2 jumps and do a 3 or something out of the blue. And I think that was really cool to see them really, really having to focus and utilize the terrain to their absolute maximum ability to separate themselves.
Like Sam Cooch, for instance, right at the very, very top, there was that little kind of where they were standing on. He was the only guy that did a trick off of that thing. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Everybody just kind of went through, and then even the first little bench that you had to get up on, a bunch of the riders were sussing it out. And then I think Finn was the first one to put a trick in there, and the course slowly evolved. Like they said they couldn't really see looking down past one feature, and they couldn't really see looking up more than 1 or 2 features because of the rolling. Right.
Yeah. So
they didn't really know what the other riders were doing aside from being able to just talk to them. So it was a lot of evolution within themselves per run, which is really cool to see.
And I think that's where the multiple run format is really cool, because on a venue like this, it's totally to their benefit to be able to getting to recycle it and learn it and maximize it.
Yeah.
And this is my opinion, and I'd be so scared to go back up and just keep sessioning spine cell and just, having to go up and be get totally gripped again and just okay, I got to make it down this one line. And so I think it's kind of cool that this format really did get to shine through and show its best, its best abilities for a competition format with this venue. Cause I think a lot of people were more or less bummed that they couldn't have gone to that big wall. But I think when you really break down and analyze what the riders were doing and how the competition progressed, worked really well for
Yeah,
everyone, and
I agree.
they made the most of it. They did really make the most of it. So
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And like I said, it was fun to watch, but the in betweens was just there's just too much, right? For an edited program, like 3.5 hours is excessive. And I do understand you got to pay bills, and they got a lot of partners, and you got to put the ads in, and they had some creative ads, that were associated with each rider and that sort of thing. But like cut it down an hour. You could easily cut it down at least an hour.
yeah, I've I've spent a lot of time around production crew, media crew at all these events, and it's such an interesting behind the scenes of how it all has to kind of tie together for the audience to watch, and what the whole behind the scenes is a nightmare world that I don't even want to go into. But
There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot to it.
It was a long watch for sure, and I think that's definitely could honestly, I was thinking about this. I was like, it maybe was even in their benefit to be on that venue that allowed them to just ride through. The crashes weren't mega. There wasn't anything like really really brutal. But I was thinking, I was like, man, if riders were riding their hardest and taking a big bail on that big wall, like skis are lost, poles are lost, GoPros are gone, they have to do like safety checks. Like you're going through huge tumbles. Like some people take big enough crashes in Alaska to really set them back mentally,
Oh yeah.
for their careers. Like we've all been through these crashes that really like reorient your perspective on like the safety, what you're doing. And I think that, if you're doing a session based competition on a big venue like that, like one crash could take 20 minutes, 30 minutes to resolve. And
Yeah.
I've seen it on the world tour where, they got to get in, they got to get a ski runner, they got to do all these things. And it's just, I don't really want to picture what their day could have potentially been like on that, for the reasons you don't want to think about like that. But it's all stuff you
Yeah.
have to consider, right? Like,
Yeah. And this is the second one that we've seen. Like Freeride World Tour returned to Alaska this year as well, and it went off pretty well. But like I said, for a live broadcast, 100% you can understand that. But for them to have like 3 weeks of editing time, like shorten it up, bro. It's funny because I watched it for like 5 hours that night, so it started at 4, but the watch parties were at 6, which was kind of strange because then people could see who won before it was over in the show. But I understand it makes more time for like people coming to watch. But I watched the first hour and a half and then watched it again, and then watched the second like 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
Yeah, the releasing's weird. I mean, it's hard because something that I have kind of been privy to is the time zone differences of when things are released, and the view where you're getting your viewers from, and all these things. Or who are you not getting, which regions are you not getting views from? Like maybe you want to make it more accessible to them. I know we've done it in the past in world tour settings where they've done a delayed release for the broadcast, and
only a couple though. They did that one in
Japan.
Japan, and they did the one in Kicking Horse, and we've talked about that on the show. I didn't really like how it turned out.
There's something,
they do such a good job live that if you can do it that way. And now with the technology now, with like Starlink, you can set up a little machine and you've got full on Wi-Fi in the middle of nowhere now, right?
Yeah, I think that's definitely something that I would say is like, as the viewer, as someone that knows a lot of these riders and would consider them friends, like you want to watch it live, right? Like you want to see what's going on. You want to see who's doing what in that time, because it's important to us. It's important to see how your friends are doing, and what this new event format in skiing is, kind of how it's going to play out this year, and
they all got to keep quiet. They got to keep their lips shut for like 3.5 weeks. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of people gotta like keep it from getting out. Like I think people are pretty decent with that because they don't want to ruin the show. But like also it's like, what happens if one of them like really really injures themselves, right? And then everybody knew that they were there, and then do they announce that they injured themselves, or like, oh hey, I was doing this, or you just like be quiet for 3 weeks and everyone's like, hey, what's going on with you? Or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's lots of funny little variables involved in that too.
The hype build up strategies interesting to me. I don't particularly agree with it, because it's just like, we all know it happened. We all have social media. We all know that it's going on, and it's just like, I get that you want to make this crisp package, and you can still make that, because I think as a sport, skiing, I think freeride skiing is probably one of the most entertaining sports to watch. I think if it's done right, shot right, packaged right, I think it would be awesome to start seeing ski highlights from all of our competitions in the ski world, not just, FIS sanctioned ones, maybe on like an ESPN or a TSN, and these broadcast channels that can really only take small packages because there's so much sports reporting. So I've had like good conversations about this in the past, where I think that there is a case to be made for having a packaged product, but for that reason of trying to expose it and get it into, the mainstream's eyes a little
Yeah.
more, right? Like people who would never really watch skiing, who maybe see a bit of it, and
Which could be done like the FWT does it now anyways, is they take all the things and they package it up in 10,000 different ways, and they do such a great job of it. Yeah, like put together a clip for that they can submit to like an ESPN or Sportsnet. I like that idea as like an extra. You got to see it. Like in Canada here, we've got a show called You Got to See It, and it's like highlights from across the sporting world, and it's like quick little clips of people doing gnarly shit.
And it's funny because I feel like, something that I'm picking up on this, and just the way that I think about it. And in this conversation, it kind of feels like Freeride World Tour versus NST. And I think there's such a big push to have them be different and have it be something totally separate and different. And maybe there's actually a lot of like strategies from both organizations that both could use to better their overall like competition and business, more or less. And I think that's one of them, is just, you can't have a 3.5 hour live feed. Like if a movie director makes a 3.5 hour movie, it's going to be like all over. That's like big news. That's a big deal.
Well, that's the thing too, right? It's like what you just said as a live feed. Like watching the FWT, like I spend a lot of time at 1 a.m. watching till sometimes 5 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like they have 4 and 5 hour events, but it's live and it's ongoing, right? But when you get a 3.5 hour event that isn't live, that's been edited to that long, that's when it feels like a little bit much. And I liked having the panel there, Ben Chetler, Tanya, Abma. That was kind of cool because they were watching it for the first time themselves. So listening to them react to it was actually really cool, because that's something that you can't really do.
Totally.
Well, you can. Derek Foose does it, but it's like in the moment too. But this is slightly different. I do like that, but like I said, that's just my one thing is like, cut it down. You could cut it an hour, 45 minutes, right? And then people are gonna watch. People probably watch the whole way, but there's also like if I hadn't watched it from the start and people were watching the replay, I'm hitting fast forward 15 seconds every time there's an ad or something, just to get to the.
What I really like about what the FWT does, that something that I find could be cool, and just there's so many runs, there's so much skiing to keep track of in this event, that it's even as a professional skier, it was hard to keep track of it all. By halfway through, it's just like, wait, like his grab, like this landing, there's so much going on. And something that I really like is when I can go back into World Tour competitions, I can like select the rider.
Yeah,
and I'm
you
like,
can go
cool,
straight
like,
to the run. Yeah,
I can go straight to the run of that event if you have it broadcasted live, and then that's your like,
you just go click on the rider's name and the scores right there, and then it takes you right to the start of the run. It's amazing.
And I think it would be so much better for everyone to be able to conceptualize and like look back at things and be able to navigate the event. It's just it's a long event, but on the flip side of it, like a long event and to be riding at that level is pretty insane to see.
Yeah. Like, it would be cool to be able to say like, oh, I want to go see Colby's first run and be able to click on it and go back and watch it again, because like we should get into the runs because they were like the skiing was next level. So we started out with men's round one, session one. And so we're just going to kind of focus in on the winners and some of the highlights that we saw through a lot of them. We're not talking about 30 runs. So men's round one was Colby Stevenson, started it off. Jonah Williams, who won the Super Sessions. Carl Fosfed, Crazy Carl. Yeah. And then Finn Billis. The only rider in that group who was there last year was Colby. Colby started it off. We like first thing we got a 720 tail grab into a massive flat spin, 360. Like it was, we're truly watching the best skiers in the world. Jonah ended up going through cool little hand drag and ended up with a couple punch fronts, which we mentioned. Carl, I really liked watching Carl ride because he was doing things that are different, like he does, like going, like he tried to land a 900 in the PAL.
I really like that, like getting to see kind of like how each of them, and it's awesome because Carl's one of those riders that's totally going to take advantage of just trying little things to differentiate his run on a very monotonous venue. And I think that was pretty cool to see, and I would have loved to have seen that work out more for him throughout.
Yeah, it was just he got a little snake bit, just unfortunate with the landings. Like he did that 900, like the 900 tail grab, not quite enough speed, and then a little nose butter 7. And then like there's a lot of butters and then like a switch 5. So like he was really, we saw a couple, I think Colby had a couple switch landings later on in the comp, but we didn't actually see a lot of them in the day. So it was cool seeing Carl do that. And then Finn Billis, who is proved to be, in my opinion, he's not underrated, but he's underhyped. In my opinion. I think Finn is one of my favorite riders ever. Like he was a slopestyle guy. He was getting 90s on the Freeride World Tour. I wish he was still there. And then he's here. So it doesn't matter where he goes or where he's skiing or on what venue he's skiing. He's one of the best in the world. Like he was the first.
I agree.
He was the first. So there was like several little benches. That first little bench, as the guys were getting used to it, were just kind of popping onto it. He 360'd into a nothing spot. He was the first guy to find his own. And that's what he was doing in the FWT as well, which he's had to have many conversations with the judges because they didn't understand what he was doing. Like he had a revert into like a trick that they didn't understand and he got underscored for it. I think it was in Andorra in his first year. And he was like, hey, I meant to do that. Like what's happening. So he can he's a chameleon. He can, no matter where he's at, he can do it. And he ended up with a 90 point and move to the finals.
Yeah. And I think that's just, you said it so well, is it doesn't matter what terrain he's in. He's a master technician at it, whether it's just playful little things, bigger tricks, higher speeds, steeper terrain. He's absolutely one of my favorite riders to watch wherever he skis, without a doubt.
Agree.
And I think that, and that's something interesting that I'm going to just bring up quickly is when you look at Finn and you look at Colby as slopestyle athletes, they actually grew up skiing with a lot of freeride athletes, like Colby with all the Alta snowbird homies, like Blake Wilson, Grant Howard, Andrew Pollard, those guys. Like he grew up like riding with them when he could. And then Finn skiing with like Craig Murray, Hank, his brother, like
Ben Richards,
all the boys,
Smoothie, the Porteouses.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. So it's like they have this really like almost behind the scenes blend of like riding that a lot of people tend to forget about, that like, no, they grew up doing this, but they just wanted to follow.
But they were better at that. They're really good at this, but they're just a little bit better at that. So they did that.
So it's really cool. And I think that's also, and shout out to Craig, is that where he gets a lot of like, he's a more big mountain oriented rider, but then seeing him shred the park, he's like, he's good in the park too.
Well, let's get into Craig. Let's get into Craig. So that was round one. 84 from Colby. Finn had a 90. Carl. So it was out of the 4. Finn just put his foot on the gas right from the start. Round 2 was Craig Murray, Marcus Eder, Tanner Hall, Sam Cooch. Like, are you kidding me? So talking about Craig, he is that big mountain guy that can throw tricks. I didn't know he had a 1080.
Yeah,
So
no, Wheezy's
second feature, 1080 tail grab.
Yeah, totally. And I was like, I knew that all these guys had a deep trick bag, and so I was really excited to kind of see what they would all get the chance to pull out. And he came out swinging for sure, which was awesome to see.
He wanted to defend his title from last year. So Craig comes out with a 94, but then right after him, his Marcus Eder, who is Marcus Eder, with several threes, the double Japan grab, and he landed them, I think, better than most of the crew there. He ended up with a 94. So Marcus moved on straight onto the finals. And then you get Tanner Hall, who's 42 years old, but you forget about that because he's Tanner Hall, right? Perfect double backflip, huge 360s. He had a little bit of a backflip and a crash, and he kind of knew it immediately because they're all mic'd up. But he got to the bottom and he's like, my stoke management was terrible. And I'm like, I love that he still gets so fired up about skiing, and he's like 42-year-old man. Like, I'm not too much older than him, but I definitely am not doing anything remotely close.
Yeah, he's still in it. He still wants to do it. And
competing with like dudes 20 years younger than him. You know what I mean? Like, I think they said on the broadcast, Sam Cooch, I think, was born the year that Tanner started filming, or within a year gap or whatever. And he's competing with those guys at the same time. So and it's awesome to see him do that because he's done a little bit of everything. And he wasn't out of place. I don't think he was out of place. With 85 there, and then Cooch is Sam Cooch. Just watching that guy ski is crazy. And you were talking about a lot of these riders with like their slow style backgrounds. Cooch grew up in whitewater. He learned how to throw doubles and 1080s off of like cat tracks or like a natural feature to like a snipe landing underneath a mogul run or something. You know what I mean? Like,
such a naturally gifted and talented skier, I think, to be able to kind of come up into that level and just have and his style, and he's so clean and technically so proficient with all of his tricks as well. And he can really still make stuff look so good as well. And so coming from that with maybe that, like, let's say, lack of background, and being able to like be one of the best, he was the best, right? So it's really cool to kind of see that these like these intricacies start to play out in the field that you wouldn't quite otherwise think of. So I think
because he's probably like, oh sweet, I can throw a 10 off of that cliff to that landing because I've done it forever, rather than someone who's like grew up competing on a perfectly groomed slopestyle course, maybe like, oh, this is a little different landing and like taking off a natural takeoff and landing in a transition that isn't perfectly groomed with a perfect run out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was like, so round 1, session 2. So we got Finn Billis and Marcus Eder straight to the finals. And then in round 2, the remaining 3, Colby versus Jonah versus Carl. Colby had a 95 run. It's one of the best runs of the day. Nice flared backy, a double cork 10, a left 3, a little shifty, then a right 3, and then another backy with a better landing than most people had. Like, that's what that guy does. Like, that was a straight up. Yeah. Like, he's an Olympian.
You can see in his riding when he gets into that, like, that competitive mindset of an Olympic medalist. Like, you can kind of see it in his riding when he turns it on, and it's just so dialed. Everything is executed. Like, it just comes down to execution for him in his riding. And it's so consistent when he does it that it's just stunning to watch. Like, you just seeing that level of performance from top to bottom is really, really awesome. It's really,
and that's like a standout in a day of standout runs, right? Late in that same round, Jonah went for the cool Rodeo 7 tail grab. And I'm so used to seeing flat spins these days. Like, flat spins are really having a moment in the last couple of years, because they look cool and they're somewhat easy for those that are able to do them. But then being able to see that rodeo 720, I had to like go back and watch it again. It's like, wait, what did he do? Because I hadn't seen one in a while. So it was cool to see that. I had a bit of a tumble lower down, and then Carl, same sort of thing, bringing in that unique, that his unique style. Did the 900 attempt, didn't quite make it, and then a little nose butter 720. So he was really going for it. Just fun to watch. I kind of like we both said, I kind of wish he was able to pull it off, because those tricks I think were some of the most unique of the day. Yeah, which were really fun to see. So that second round, first session, Colby ends up taking it, and he moves on to the final round to battle, I believe, also Marcus, and then we'll find out who now. So round 2, session 2, it was kind of a rematch of last year's finals. Craig Murray, Sam Cooch, Tanner's in there as well. Craig had a 95 to start it off. Like, where do you go from there?
Yeah, you know, that's where it's like it comes down to these things where it's just like he's getting a 95. What's beating that? Like how, like, you know, we're starting to see it so much now. We're starting to see so many 90s and high 90s scores in freeride skiing. It doesn't matter what event you're looking at, that I'm thinking we may need to change the scales a little bit here.
1 out of 10 now. Yeah.
Like it's crazy just seeing that being the bar and then having to go up and Sam just sneaking by him. Like,
yeah, it's like, so Craig puts in another 1080 tail grab, several threes, little floaty airs, a big backflip to the parking lot at the bottom, like another flawless run. Basically tied Colby's 95, which we said was the best run of the day. Craig matches it. Tanner with an 86 had a really good run going and kind of over-rotated his double backflip, which is uncharacteristic for him because he's got those on lock. And then Cooch steps up with, I think, the run of the day, honestly. 350, the 360 little flat spin. He did 360 and then that little flat spin that he does, that little Lincoln loop dealie on the bench that no one was really doing anything was, and he just managed to find the speed and get around. A double cork 1080 beats a 1080 tail grab. And then he had that cork 720 that on the step down, and then another big 3, and then the flat 7. So yeah, just a little bit better than Craig on that run, and it gave him a 98. Yeah. It was perfect.
Yeah, and you know, looking at the other session, it was Colby with the double cork that was kind of the big magnitude, lots of like a very amplified trick, big, and so I think that's where you're starting to see the impact of this venue change with this type of venue for the riders that can execute that magnitude of trick, right? Like that's where you're starting to see, like maybe, you know, Wheezy.
That's the separation.
I'm Wheezy sure. I'm sure he has dub 10s in that setting. I haven't ridden with him in a moment, but like I'm almost certain he does. But just maybe that wasn't the setting for it. And so that's the separation of like, you know, you have Colby, you have Sam, who's extremely, like, he's a cat in the air. And then you have Finn, right? Finn didn't do a double in his run, but he had that like just extremely playful, maximize the venue in his first round. So I think in that round 2, you're starting to kind of see where riders who excel in this style of terrain really excelling and pushing them through.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like I don't want to be a judge for there because you're like, well, how does this work? So, you know, the last year's winner doesn't make it through to the finals. Craig with a 95 doesn't make it through because Sam edges him out. So straight to the final, you've got Finn Billis, Marcus Eater, Colby Stevenson, Sam Cooch. And you got all those other names that don't make it. It's so wild. They're like literally the best riders on the planet. Yeah. And that's why this is such a fun event to watch. Like we're talking about the length of it, but it's not because we don't want to watch it. Like definitely it's so awesome to see. So that was the men's first couple rounds, and they were actually staggering, the men, women. But for this show, we wanted to kind of keep it together instead of jumping around too much to kind of keep it straight. So in the women's category, we had Manon Lowski, last year's champion, former FWT rider, one of the few people in the world to put a dub down in a competition. But then there's also Astrid Chalus, former FWT rider, who is another one of those few people that have been able to put a dub down in a competition, who had a bit of a tough year on the FWT, just with a couple crashes, events getting canceled, not being able to do her run in the World Championships. And I think she was getting a little sour with the tour, to be honest.
Well, I had a good chat with her about it, and I had a season that felt very similar, where there's just so many things that are out of your control, that are truly out of your control, that still impact the trajectory of your season, and there's no forgiveness for how much it's going to impact it. Like, you have one crash, like we all take a big crash, you all do that, and then you get an event canceled, and then you're already another foot down the ladder, and it can kind of build, and it can really, when you start getting into that cycle, it's really tough. So I had a good chat with her, and I think it was kind of a big fresh breath to kind of maybe like reposition herself in this competition that isn't the FWT mindset, but still tricky because it's a competition mindset, right? Like these riders still use techniques mentally to kind of get into that zone that you'd still feel a lot of that regardless of what competition you're in. So she's definitely had a battle this season with how things have turned out for her and how it's just impacted her mentally, and I think she's been handling it gracefully as possible.
And yeah, like you said, a fresh look for a competition. And so this year there was, like I said, a couple hundred people at the Evo store. Last year we did it at RMU in Whistler, and there's about 20-25 people. And she was there last year watching, and I was chatting with her about it, and she's like, I want to do this, man. I want to do that so bad. Like, I really, really, really want in on that. So she's been like kind of gunning for it. She got to meet, some of the people that were working for NST at that screening. So I think maybe foot in the door, shaking some hands, getting people, sharing some intention. So it was really cool to see her, because it was awesome. So getting into ski women, round one. So we got Hannah Epstein, who won the Super Sessions in Palisades, and she was 17 years old. I think she may have turned 18 like the day, like around that week of I think they said on the broadcast. Holy cow. First time in a helicopter, they said. First time to Alaska, they said. So must
have been a mind-blowing experience, just coming right onto the scene like that.
But then also not even being there, but being there with all of probably, like, she's 17 years old. She's probably like Elizabeth Gerritsen, Manon Lowski, Astrid Chalus, Tanner Hall, Finn Billis, like superheroes. They're, like, everybody that was on this event is a superhero. So she's a 17-year-old or 18-year-old now, superhero. But wow, like, she really showed that she belonged there. Had a couple crashes, but what she did in order, like, before that happened, was definitely kind of right up there. Obviously this is a huge learning experience for her, like huge 360, a bit of a crash, backy, another big 360 into the bomb hole, which I was talking about. I think that was Jonah's bomb hole that she went into. But then that whole zone just got lit up as well. Not to throw him under the bus. He was there, and I chatted with him about it briefly, but he's cool.
Being put into that environment, and still, not letting, maybe it's truly inspiration and stoke, and sometimes there could be an intimidation, but not letting any of that get to her and just jumping right into it is so awesome to see. Just taking like every opportunity.
Nothing to lose.
Really. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe that young naivete as well. You're like, I don't know that. I'm not supposed to know this. So let's go for it, Next up was Ellie Gerritsen with an 80. And we talked about this before. If that was on Spine Cell, I would have had Ellie. Ellie and Manon and Astrid are big mountain riders too, but Ellie is a specialist. And then
Yeah,
when we went into this freestyle event, I was like, oh, I don't know how she's going to do. I was actually a little worried for her, to be honest. Like, I didn't want her to like really be singled out as someone that may not be able to hang, but oh no. Oh no.
no, she can
Was she,
totally hang and
that first,
showed up. Yeah.
her first
But
run went through, did not enough speed to get up to the bench. And I made a joke, maybe put a couple of rocks in her pockets, but she fixed that on her second run. But then rolling through and hucked a massive backflip.
mhm.
I've never seen Ellie huck a backflip in a comp. I didn't watch the challengers. I don't know if she did it there, but I was like, oh hell yeah.
Yeah,
Watching
no,
her do that and elevate her game from where she was before. Haven't seen her a couple years, and then bringing in these new tricks. It was so exciting to watch.
yeah, it was awesome, and to see her kind of push herself. I know she's been pushing her that side of her riding for the last little bit, and seeing it show up in this event and not letting the change in venue really hold her back, because I do think she's one of those riders that on spine cell, different story. Like you're going to see a whole level of riding that just like what the new venue just can't offer. And I sympathize with that, because I would put myself into one of those categories as well. As just, I would be totally bummed if I had to go ride that against some of those riders.
Mhm.
So I was super excited and super stoked to see how she showed up and just sent it and doing big backies. So
Yeah, so that first round, they just kept getting better. Astrid steps up, perfect backy, a little bit better landing than Ellie. A couple drops, shifty, little straight air. So had a good run with an 82, and then Manon stepped up and ended up with a 85. I don't know personally if it was that much better than Astrid's run. That's just the notes that I made. Like they're both really good runs. But I don't know if it was too much more. It was an 85 versus an 82, but it had her move on to the finals.
yeah, I can't recall exactly what it was. Maybe it was a bit of amplitude, maybe an amplitude difference, and just like sometimes even if you're landing half a ski length, the ski length from a judge's perspective, you can kind of see the way that like shows up in the like nuances of like the landing and all these things. And so I think that's actually, from what I remembered, separated it in my mind, is just there was like little things you could kind of see that just made it, maybe make it seem that it was just that much cleaner, that much more amplitude, or just that much more like more precision around some of it, because it was a clean run. Absolutely. So
Yeah,
I
like you said, it's that little fine toss up, and then like
yeah,
I
it's
said with the
such
judging,
small things.
they're not watching on a screen; they're watching the binocs. They're trying to mark down like, and there was like 5-6 features that you had to be like, all right, here's they did this on this, and then this on this, and then this on this, and this on this, and you're ripping through it as a judge. Like that's got to be a lot to take down. But I'd say for
Totally.
the most part, they got it pretty much right throughout the day. A couple times I was like, but I watched back a couple of them and was like, okay, yeah, it could have gone either way, but I don't disagree too much. But it's pretty close. But it moved moved Manon to the final, and then into the second round. Hannah under rotated, tried to backy again, a little unrotated. She got one ski around, then one ski got caught, which is a bit of a bummer. Ellie had an 85, so Manon had an 85 that pushed her into the final. Ellie improved on her run. Like spots where she got caught up on with her speed, she had zero problem with on her second run. Aired through that little top chute. There was a spot right at the very beginning that not a lot of people were hitting. Sam was doing some tricks off it. Ellie found a nice little air through it. Had to tuck to the lip just to make sure she could get up, and had another big backy. A couple little airs, a fun little hip airs, a little shifty, with an 85. So that's what Manon got to the final, which was a great run. But then Astrid stepped up.
Yeah. I think it's Ellie's confidence coming through, and that, just knowing her, it's like once she's comfortable on that venue and has kind of gotten those, going to a venue where you might feel that you could be a bit disadvantaged or you haven't prepared for really. And then, once you get comfortable with that, and then you're like, okay, now I'm going to use everything I can in my bag I know where to use it now. I think that's also the other big one
Yeah,
is
full on
those
veteran
little
savvy on
things.
display.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Like tons of mountain sense in that
yeah,
riding.
and competition sense too, right? Like
Yeah,
she's won the tour. She won it by 40 points, and she didn't think she
yeah,
was going to, but it doesn't matter. It's just smart riding at all times, which gets you that little bit ahead. So Astrid then stepped up. Same thing as the first round, better every time. Astrid had that big fat, like Astrid and Manon's backflips are just like unreal. Something in the water in La Clusa. You got Candide, you got those two, her brother, like
it's
Astrid's brother.
I think it's just a new generation. It's just like they're so oriented and focused, and you can just see it in all of their riding. It's so clean, so smooth when it comes to the trick. Just like oozing style with it all. It's
Yeah.
definitely
Two
definitely there.
backflips for that run, put her
Yeah.
in an 89. So she moves on to the final. So it's Manon versus Astrid, two friends from La Clusa who were both on the tour together, and they would share their runs and they would like talk about what's happening together. And now they're here at NST Ski about to throw down in the final. So they got two final runs. So we'll continue on with the women's final.
Yeah.
Moving on with continually increasing. Manon with a 91, big shifty, that big flat 360 Japan air was so dope.
So clean. Like I was watching that and I was just like, man, like honestly, that's probably better than most of mine. Like that was just so clean,
I've
so
seen
much
some of yours,
style.
Tom. I think
Mine
so.
are bad. They were better. They're just like it was so, but I think, that's like the little difference right there is not just pulling out the back gear, the three, and just, still 360-degree rotation, but just working on those like little nuances and tricks where it's like, how can I,
She's the
as a
style
rider,
queen.
focus on? Yeah.
She's the
And
current reigning style queen, without question, right? She can go
yeah,
big and she can make it look real nice, like it was nothing.
yeah,
So yeah, uh, she comes in, that big flat three, Japan shifty, got a 91. That's a great starting point when you're in a final, best of two runs. Astrid went through, big clean backy, a couple little airs, over rotated her second backy.
yeah.
But it looked like she might have been going for a double and may have pulled the plug on it at the last minute.
Yeah, I think she said she was like thinking about it. Should I do it? And there was that like half thought, half pull out commitment where it just
Yeah.
your body does one of the options, your mind does the other, and then you end up in that
Yeah.
scenario where you can't stop it. It's too late. So I think she really wanted it though.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. And then, yeah, so she she wheelied out of that first backflip and then hit a backy into the bomb hole and like hit some shin bang, and you could hear her on there like, oh my god, I'm so tired.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get into that was their second, that was their first lap trying to go the double, and then run number 2, Manon hits a 95, lands the double backflip. We've seen her attempt it, we've seen her land it. Boom, there it is in a competition. Another small drop shift, and then a huge 360 at the end. We were just like, hey, hold on. Like, you may have just punched your ticket, but she knows Astrid has them too. Yeah. So she really had to go for it. Astrid drops in, big backflip. The first backflip had to wheelie out and tried to hold on to it, just missed it. So it was kind of over for her after that first major spot. Yeah. And then did another backy into the bomb hole, like way backseat.
Well, and it must just be so hard too in a head to head like that, where if you're tired, you might not have you're coming in behind on the second run, you're feeling beat. They just pull something with huge amplitude, lace it. In some scenarios, it totally fires you up, and you're like, no, yeah, I can do it, I got it. Or others, you're just like, man, like I really the pressure's really on. So I think it's such a high pressure situation to be like head to head like that and know that that's the one shot and so many factors at play. And yeah, just like we were saying before, long day, long day. You can't blame anyone for being tired at the end of that.
And it was fantastic to see the two of them go head to head in the final. Because as we know, in the World Championships earlier this year, they were two of five of the athletes that didn't get to go because the weather came through. It was too late for helis to go. Safety, they had to shut down the event. So, at the top of the ski women event for the World Championships, it was Agostina Vietti, who had just won the week before. It was Winter McBride, who had a podium earlier that season. You got Lily Bradley, who is a winner on the FWT multiple times. And then you got Astrid and Manon. So 5 heavy hitters that we didn't get to see go.
Which I think is just a despicable rule at the World Champ competition in specific. There's so much debate around it. But, I think in a World Tour season where you have multiple stops and, you get one, you get another one, don't worry. Like, sorry, there's ways.
That one was tough because of the World Champs, right? So
it's World Champs. It's like, it should be, in my opinion, I was like, you guys should be choosing weather dates and weather windows and that are big enough and long enough to accommodate.
It was a funky day. If you want to dive in deep on it, go listen to the World Championship recap. I did it with Derek. We dive deep into that and all the different scenarios and whys and why nots and and I know she was so disappointed and frustrated with it. It wasn't, the whole field wasn't able to run. So this seemed like a really great kind of makeup, so to speak. Being able to watch the two of them go head to head, 2 runs in the finals was really cool to see. And I'm sure it made them give them a little bit of a relax as well. Or, because I know they were both pissed off, for lack of a better term. Right. So now they actually get to go and do this. Would probably help a little bit because Astrid, we were watching with Astrid right to the very end, and she was like kind of cringing watching herself crash on that last run, but she was having a great time. Looks like she was really enjoyed her experience, and it was carried over to to the few weeks later after the editing and the premiere. So congratulations to Manon, who is a double winner. She's a back-to-back winner of NST. So the only 2 that they've had, she's taken the title, and she's really kind of put her stamp on as one of the best skiers in the world.
Absolutely.
So congrats to Manon. And then we get into the men's finals. So they had 2 runs as well, starting with Finn Powell, followed up by Marcus, Colby, and then Sam. This was insane to watch. This was absolutely insane to watch. It's like video game stuff, man.
It's
like
kind of
for real.
It's kind of it literally is the 4 big mountain freeride skiers that you would want to watch compete head to head. Yeah. Like the four, like they're like, I wouldn't change anyone out. I'd be like, you want to see some of the
maybe out of 5th, so you could get Wheezy in there, but he didn't make it to the finals. It's like, holy smokes.
Yeah. So it's like if Wheezy's not making it to the finals, like that's just crazy world to be in, because he was the defending champion, right? He doesn't even make it to the finals this year, but he could have. He was close. But Sam just decided to put down a 98-point run against Craig's 95-point run. So, like, what are you gonna do, right? What are you gonna do? So, in that first round, 3 of the 4 riders got in the 90s. Finn would have been. He had a 1080 blunt. Had a little bit of a front punch, but right back on his skis. He ended up with an 86 with a front punch. Yeah.
Right 3, and then another one, the 720. 1, 2, 3, 4, fourth 360s, a 720, and a 1080 on a Alaskan face.
Yeah. Like,
and he got an 86. And then Marcus steps up. He had that double flat spin, backy to a double flat spin. I think he had like a double 720, another 360 drop, and they had that funky little nose butter 720 where he nose buttered up onto the lip and then continued on with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Which he pulled off that run. He with a 94. Then Colby steps up with a rodeo 5. So other than Carl, the only rider to land switch. So he had the rodeo 5, a huge cork 1080, which was so big. Like you said, that right there. That's like, hey, I've done this a million times on these big jumps. I can do this. Like that's the separation that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can just start to see it. And I think a big thing too is like the landing switch is just such a big, like wherever you see it in the big mountain, it doesn't matter if you're just out with your buddies, you're filming, you're in a competition, but like going for the switch land is just such a statement. And it
Yeah,
just kind of
it's
like
so impressive.
it puts so much like amplitude and attention on your run, which I
A
think is
statement.
like,
I like that. It
yeah,
is a big
yeah.
statement. It really is.
Yeah, because
Um,
it's so risky, right? Like there's so many things that could just go just a little wrong in the POW that like you can't revert, you bounce out of it, 1 foot punches your balance, you have to adjust your balance all different. So I think that, it was a big statement, and to do it in the finals and just to kind of say like, hey, I'm here in the finals, like I
yeah,
intend to win this. It was kind of that's when I was like, oh yeah, he's going for the win
going
100%.
for it. So 96 on that first run. And then Sam Cooch steps up, left 3. I think did that. I think it's a little Lincoln loop that he did just onto the step, like a nothing. Like it was a nothing feature that he just manages to
Yeah.
do what he
It's
does.
like he's a cat. Yeah, you can just
Then double flat
trick
spin,
here.
720, hand drag 360, an off axis flat, another, and then a misty 720. Like I'm just saying words now. You know what I mean?
Playground. It's just a playground. It's video game style stuff, and it's all so with Sam. It's just so smooth and so clean. Like it's so calculated on all of it, and it's perfect. Like you just look at some of it, and it's just what you wish you could always be doing, and
Oh
it's
man.
pretty. Yeah, it's pretty nuts. Like, and to get a
And being able
92
to
as well.
being able to watch these people do it one after another, it just it doesn't seem real to a mere mortal like myself. Like it really doesn't, and it's so fun to watch. And I will say, like, the drone pilots, we got to give shout out to the drone pilot. FWT drone pilots are great. I bring that up a lot of time. The crew that they had working this broadcast, they are fantastic.
Mhm.
I don't think at one point did I see something out of place. I know it was edited, but they were in the right spot at the right time the whole way through, just following these riders down. So big
Totally.
kudos to the drone pilots for sure. We may have to get a drone pilot on the show and talk to them about it, I think.
It'd be interesting to get a collection of media guys or production guys or event people who kind of work behind the scenes to like show it all together. Because I had a 4-hour van ride with some of the FWT guys who are in charge of taking down and setting up everything in the next country and the ops team.
Mm-hmm.
And man, it's insane what these people are doing behind the scenes, and like a well-oiled machine that can adapt to anything. So I just want to give a shout out to that. And up in Alaska, the NST crew, they're working, they're getting 5 hours of sleep, working around the clock, just making sure everything goes right. So it is a really valid point to bring up quickly.
And
It's
then
like,
just trying to make it happen, let alone make it sure it goes right. You know what I mean? And
and
that venue was so cool too. One thing I didn't even notice is I haven't mentioned is like the view from the top, that huge, massive
Yeah.
glacier that was just like, flowing below them. Like,
Yeah.
what a cool spot to have like a slope style course set up.
Yeah.
So Colby with a 96, Marcus with a 94, Sam with a 92, Finn with an 86 in that first round of the finals. And then on to the final round of the finals. Finn Billis with a 93. So Finn had the best run of that second round.
Yeah.
So all 4 dudes have a score 93 or higher. Or sorry, 92 or higher in the finals, which is, like I said, it's video game shit, man. Like, it's so sweet. Like, so Finn did what he did, bunch of 360s, a big 1080, a Japan, like a flat 360 Japan Air, another double fall line, like 360, a 720. Like, those guys are getting dizzy, I'm sure.
Dude.
Marcus went through and went for the double cork 1080, 720 tail grad. He tried that same little butter move into that step up, but ended up kind of getting caught, and that's what got him there. But he still ended up with an 88, even with the mistake. Colby, who dedicated his run to Kai Smart, which was pretty awesome. For those of you who don't know, Kai Smart, local Whistler kid, grew up with a lot of the Momentum campers. His dad, John Smart, kind of started Momentum camps, and he kind of grew up through the scene. A lot of these people know who he was. Pretty adventurous, awesome dude who lost his life in an avalanche. So classy shout out for Kai.
Yeah.
Wasn't Colby's best run, but it didn't matter because he was kind of sitting on that 96 from before. And then Cooch stepped up and same sort of thing, man. Another amazing run. He double rodeo 1080 and then had a little bit of a crash, which I think dropped him down.
I just want to say this, going for a dub rodeo or a dub flat 7 versus 10, like the 10 is so much more. And we were talking about this today, and it's just such a statement trick to go for, to like really to try and put down in a competition. And I think it's over
in the backcountry.
In the backcountry,
on an ungroomed jump,
because it was a crash. It's like a little overlooked, but it's just like, I think, I just want to point that out, that is just insane and such an epic trick to just go for. And it's getting maybe like people maybe overlook at it because of the crash, but just huge shout out for that, Sam.
Yeah. What can you say that we haven't already said a time? Like, these guys are superheroes. Like, they're my heroes. Like, I don't understand how that works. Like, it's just so impressive. It's that's why we're talking about them. So Colby's 96 holds up. Colby Stevenson wins. And he even mentioned too, like, he didn't make the Olympic team for slopestyle this year. He didn't make the cut. So this is a really, really tasty for him. Really, really, really satisfying for Colby with a 96. In second place, Marcus Eder with a 94 from his first run. Third place would be Finn Billis with a 93 from his second run. And then Sam's 92 with the double flat 720 hand drag, and then a Misty 7, which I hadn't seen in a long time as well. So it's like any of those guys, man. Like, who do you pick? Run of the day, I'd say, goes to Sam with that 98 in that second round.
Yeah, absolutely. That was. I think that's when you just saw the bar totally get put up to the very, very top for everyone. You know, like that was a bar setting moment. And I think that's what brought even, Colby, Marcus, Finn, and just reminded them that, like, it's up there. Like, this is where we're going to set it.
Yeah. And I don't know if they knew the scores, because I know they couldn't see the runs, and I know they may have talked to each other, but I don't know if they were able to, I guess they would have known the scores, because they're all down
there's
at the bottom.
A little like announcement thing.
But then I was wondering, I wonder if they all got bumped up at the same time on the same heli, or they're doing, so I would assume they'd know. What an event. Like, I love NST because it's something not FWT. Love FWT, but different events are awesome. Switch it up. And like you were saying before, is like FWT could probably learn some things and adopt something from the NST, and then vice versa. Like, they don't necessarily need to be so different, but have your own lane, but be able to take the best of this and the best of that, whether it's through the production or the setup or how it's presented, or the format of the competition.
Something that I would have liked to have seen in the bigger picture of this event is that there just wasn't enough women to start. Like, I look at the ski women field right now in Freeride, and I'm asking myself why 5 names, 6 names weren't there, And so that's something that, like, when I look at it all and I look at the day and you just kind of see everything, I'm just like, I think of so many riders, and I would have loved to have seen there's so many, even when it comes down to super sessions and getting it in. So I think that's something that we can, like, look at and push for. Cause I'm like, I know those ski men, those are the guys that I would want to watch probably you could watch them every year and it wouldn't get old. Like, it just wouldn't get old. But I think there's a contingency and a population that could be better represented in that. And that would be pretty epic to see, because there's some riders out there that
I agree.
Push it.
I agree. And we've talked about this with the tour as well. It's not a topic that's uncovered with between Derek and myself, and there'll be more.
But
We're gonna do
yeah,
a full recap of the full season here coming up
more
shortly.
when you get to choose. More when you get to choose. It's like they select and they invite athletes. In the tour, there's a qualification process, and we talk about this. Like they have to take X amount of people per the category of riders qualifying in from below. Like that actually influences the population. But if you're selecting riders, like the only two people that have to work their way in were from the super sessions, right?
Yeah,
So it's not a
Hannah.
huge
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. It was just Hannah and Jonah. So it's that's something that would be interesting to see, I think. But yeah, ultimately, such a cool event to see how they had to adapt and overcome things that happened in the mountains.
and I guess for sake of argument, well, just from their point of view, potentially is with the bracket system.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you could adjust it if there's like 6 in each round, and then you know what I mean. But depending on how you want to set the brackets up, you need to have an even number? I would think it just depends, right? But if they did it like the men's bracket, are there 4 that can fit into that ski women? Do you figure?
I think so. I think with what we have, I think, it's challenging because there's, invites, some riders might not be available to do it, injuries, so many things happen in a winter that
Then you're also
come.
adding another, and like I said, I'm just big devil's advocate. You're adding
Yeah, yeah.
another seven plus runs on a big long day. So yeah, but it can be done. You know what I mean? There's
The days are long in
I don't
Alaska.
disagree with you at all. I think it needs to be it needs to be done because the level in women's skiing and even women's snowboarding in the last 5 years has gone through the roof. It's leaps and bounds, man.
Yeah, totally. And so I think that was something, but I think overall it was I think it was good to see them have to adapt and how they would adapt as an organization to, a big change of plans, condition oriented, obviously, and how that kind of played out for them. And I think it was really interesting. And honestly, the day was sick to watch. Like
Yeah.
the riding is, I don't want to ever compete against them.
Yeah. Well, and they put on a great show. And it was fun to watch. Like I said,
Yeah.
like the only drawback, maybe a bit long. But for those listening who haven't watched it yet, you can just go and fast forward to all each of the runs. Just
Yeah.
hit the fast forward 30 seconds little button at the bottom left of the the screen.
Totally.
There on YouTube, Red Bull TV. So yeah, like it was fun. They pivoted. They made a great, like they managed to make lemonade. Like they had to pivot. They had to move around. They proved that they knew what they were doing. They pulled off a great show. It was fun to watch. The skiing was next level. And I'm excited to see next year. I hope that they do it again.
Yeah.
I'd
me
like to see
too.
maybe a couple events.
Yeah, it would be really interesting to see kind of how they want to maintain their identity as a brand and what they're doing and being able to do 2 events or multiple, because for me, like, I think they have so much more, and granted, like, there's so much work behind the scenes, but holding the one event, the weather windows of the time, the date, the length that they're up there is so long for this event. Like, these riders lock off so much of their season for this event, even in super sessions. And, you know, we've talked about this at length, and I'm sure you have, is like the world tour is gnarly because they have a team at the next country setting up during
Yeah.
the event, like there's
Yeah.
no time, like there's no time. And so the logistical operation is exponentially increased and the demand is so high. So it'd be really interesting to see kind of, if they wanted to go down that route, how they would do it. What would that look like?
Or
I
do it like they do
personally,
with the snowboarding side of it, and like do an event in Revelstoke or like near Nelson, like
yeah,
Baldface,
like
something like that. Something in
do
the lower 48 or in Canada.
kind of replicate it with the duels thing. Like, I think that would be a really cool thing. I think, or maybe even make the super sessions bracket a bit bigger and like select a bigger start list to compete for spots.
Right.
I think there's a way that they can kind of like, maybe not for the final event, blow it out or make it more, but I think they can totally expand on what they have at the, like, maybe let's just say qualification or like entry level into it, because there's so many good skiers, men and women out there right now. Like, there's so many riders that could get given that opportunity and chance that would just be equally as insane to watch get to these finals venues and compete. So I think, I totally think that would be something that I would love to see in the future for them and blow out and maybe
I agree.
Open up the doors appropriately.
The more the better. The more the better. And it gives us more things to talk about. And then we'll just have to get some more sponsors so we can pay for all of these episodes, all these extra episodes. But yeah, that was fun. That was a super fun watch. Hey man, thank you so much for jumping on. I was sitting there because I knew Derek may not have been able to do it in time, and sitting there watching, and I talked to Marcus. I'm like, oh, maybe like an FWT athlete. And then I'm like, oh, Tom, fuck yeah, Tom. Yeah. Hey man. And I didn't even finish asking you. You're like, yep, sure.
I was like, yeah, I can do it. A little tired. Been out since 4:30 in the morning. Yeah. So
life's tough as a pro skier out there sledding in the BC backcountry, stacking clips.
Man. Yeah. Stacking clips is a big statement for today, but
just what you'll tell them. That's just what you're going to tell everybody. Stacking clips. So thank you everybody for tuning in. As I said, the Freeride Guide is available on every podcast app, and you can see us. You can watch us on YouTube. Hello, everyone. If you're watching, glad you're here. It's on the Low Pressure Podcast YouTube channel. And if you enjoy the show, we would very much appreciate if you could give us a really nice rating. Freeride_guide on Instagram. And you've got Tom on Instagram. Which is what again? Yeah.
Just Tom Peiffer, first name, last name.
Peiffer.
Peiffer.
PEI?
Did you say that? Did you say that? I don't know. Yeah,
Peiffer.
It rang through. You nailed it.
Yeah. It's spelled Peiffer, but it's pronounced Peiffer.
I don't know. I guess.
Tom Peiffer, Peiffer. Go follow him on Instagram. Thanks to Surefoot Skiing and Surefoot Custom Ski Boots for making my feet feel great, smashing around Whistler Blackcomb and all of the places I've got to travel this year, as well as Head Skis and Tyrolia Bindings, who gave me one of the best days I've ever had, ripping around groomers on a sunny day with not a lot of fresh snow. So that was a lot of fun. For those of you who have anything to say, so if Tom and I did something good and you want to give us a slap on the back, or if we totally blew a take and we backslapped, send us an email to the backslap inbox, backslap@freerideguidepodcast.com. That's backslap@freerideguidepodcast.com. And we're stoked to have you here. Thank you so much, Tom, for joining me again. And for those of you listening, we've got one more episode this season. It's going to be a 2026 Freeride competition wrap-up with myself and Mr. Derek Foose. And we'll have some backslaps. So if you want to be part of the show, send in your backslap email because you got one more opportunity this season to get it in. I'm talking to you, Sam Bender. Sam Bender is our unofficial backslap contributor. Every week we get a good email from that guy. So anyways, from me, thank you very much. Thank you,
Likewise.
Tom.
I really appreciate it being back on. And if you have any questions, shoot those emails. And absolutely. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Send an email. Let us know how Tom did. I know he did well, as he always does. That's why I got him back on here. And then go follow Tom, because he's a good skier and he's a good dude. So thanks, everybody, and we will talk to you sooner than you think.
Thank you very much.
This has been a Redmark Media production.